I want to go over the pure essence that has had me captivated mentally, spiritually, emotionally for the past 3 weeks. A week ago, I finished The East of Eden by John Steinbeck. It took me 2 weeks to read 601 pages. But in the third week, even after I had finished it, I still felt like I was under its grip. I'm an avid reader, but I haven't read in a while. You know, sometimes life just kind of gets in your way. And I had seen somebody recommend this on TikTok. And it just caught out to me. So, same day I got it from the library, rented it, and like I said, that was 3 weeks ago. This last week, I've been trying to push some of the concepts out of my head to regain real estate over my mind, but I don't think that I'll ever be able to, because that's how life-changing this book has been to me. One thing that I liked about being in school, whether it was high school or even in courses in college, was the ability to discuss literature. These books, these stories, they take you on, they give you access to a different world. And sometimes when you come out of these worlds, you can feel lonely. The discussions and the group sessions that I would have in classes used to make me feel less alone. From finishing this book, I haven't been able to really discuss it with anybody other than my wife. And I've looked on Reddit and such like that. But the things that I want to talk about in this book is specific to me because I am my own person. So I decided to document it on a video, and hopefully it meets the people who are on the same wavelength as me, who just kind of have a sense of desire for a community that can nerd out about books, and on a deeper level, how books from the 1950s and from any time can have a huge impact on your life presently. So today I will be discussing East of Eden by John Steinbeck. Like I said, it's a 601 page book that is essentially about life. It takes point over multiple decades of generations, and you really fall in love with both the setting, which is in California, but also the people of that. I know in a lot of discussions, there are questions about who's your favorite characters and your least favorite, and I will be going over that today. But for the most part, what I really intend to do is to talk about the impact that it has had on me and the significance of that. So just to start off, my favorite character is Lee, and essentially this entire video is probably going to be about Lee. I can delve into other characters because they all had some sort of impact on me, but Lee's was the most powerful, and I don't think that he gets enough credit. It was very disheartening to see that he wasn't in the 1955 movie adaptation of this book, because the cultural impact that he brings to this book, it just solidifies how diverse and how great it can be when you have different cultures in the same country. But other than just his, ethnicity, on a deeper basis, I appreciate his philosophies and the fact that he was a lifelong student, because that is something that I am. And regardless of what his past was, he continued to advance emotionally, socially, spiritually, soulfully, and he never stopped encouraging others around him to do the same. So Lee is my favorite. My least favorite is surprisingly Adam. I think that Adam had the most impact, or potentially the most impact in this book, but his lack of follow through, self-discipline, and availability of his emotions, or the availability to regulate his emotions, was really a letdown. But I understand why Steinbeck chose those characteristics in him, and they really shine through in the way that they're supposed to, but they can come off very hard to digest when for the whole story you're rooting for him, and he just kind of continues to be a very flatline character with very little development socially, emotionally, spiritually, etc. So now that I have gone over those two questions, which are kind of superficial, just to kind of introduce the topic, this will contain spoilers because I have finished the book. And if you don't mind, then keep watching. But if you do mind, then I encourage you to read the book and then come back and let me know how you feel. I am going to be really talking about a scene where Sam, Lee, and Adam are talking. This is at the point where they have been friends for decades, and Samuel has came to say his final goodbyes and that he's going to be starting to travel. And they sit around and they have a discussion about something that they had talked prior years before. And in that discussion is a passage in the Bible, which is about Cain and Abel. It's in Genesis. And so through the time that has elapsed over the discussion about Cain and Abel, Lee has gone to his elders of his family, and he's brought up this discussion with them, and together they have came to the conclusion of different translations and what certain aspects of this passage means. Now, without getting super religious, because I don't consider myself to be religious, but I have been in the past, the way that Steinbeck was able to articulate and resolve such a complex theology in a way that is done amongst friends, it was just compelling. And that's what really has sparked me, motivated me to come out of my own shell and to post this video to have an impact with those who may want to talk about those same type of themes. I understand that it is difficult sometimes to question or to even learn new things about theologies and ideologies that have been passed down to us through generations and that have had such powerful placements in our lives. But when Lee, Samuel, and Adam were talking, and Lee had, adequately translated the word tismel, I hope I'm saying that right, which translates to thou mayest, it allows them the freedom of choice, and it highlights that God has always given us that choice. Now, when I say God, I don't mean it in a way that is singular to only one religion. I mean God as in the spark that unites and unifies all of us, the divine breath that gives life and that sustains us even after this physical life is gone. And the choice that we have is so powerful that we can choose damnation in our mind, we can choose jubilee in our spirit, and for God to give us that power, it is reflective of God's love. So with that theme that is so heavily laced throughout this novel, we can see how Lee has exercised his choice to continue to prevail in the face of adversity, to inspire and encourage others to be their best selves and to allow themselves to grow on their own passage of life, and to steer clear of the animalistic abilities that we all have because of a choice to not engage, even when all of the excuses are valid too. And that's something that he, really embeds into the boys, Aaron and Caleb, but more so Cal, who is Caleb. And I love that because they grow up without a mother, and they find out later in life that their mother was, essentially a madam of a whorehouse. And so that news was detrimental, and it affects Aaron and Cal, who are twins, differently. But the type of vibration that I got from Lee throughout the novel is that he was very nurturing, like a mother. And a lot of things that would have been done by a mom was done by Lee. And it was done in a way that was not emasculating. It was done in a way that was necessary for the development of not just the twins, but also Adam. Adam. So Lee is really the glue, the love, the power that has charged and propelled them to thrive in the midst of adversities throughout those decades, at least the Trask family. That's Adam, Aaron, and Cal. So when I look back at this piece of literature, I understand that with East of Eden, this is essentially a bloodline that is followed down from Cain. And we can know that from going back to Genesis and knowing that God essentially told Cain, after he killed his brother Abel, that he had to leave, Eden, and he was to go east. And so with the novel called East of Eden, I can see how John Steinbeck was aligning that this bloodline was, their ancestor is essentially Cain. But that would only be in the area of those people who have been in that area, right? And that area is the Salinas. So Adam, Lee, and Samuel are all immigrants to that area. They all come from different places. And this is important because the way the setting is so dynamic in this novel, it's almost like it's its own character. The way that Steinbeck explains and describes the plot and the seasons changing and the way the land is altered during these seasons, it makes it of importance, right? And you can see that as the Salinas change, that the characters are also going through their own seasonal changes that are essentially in frequency with the land. And so if this land, which is East of Eden, right, is going through these changes that is being reflected through the characters, then we can see that essentially this is the land where Cain has had, has multiplied, and his bloodline has came through, and essentially there is, Cain, he had a curse mark, and so this can be essentially the manifestation in the earth of the curse mark, which is that when they all came to the Salinas, essentially that's when chaos wreaked. Not to say that chaos didn't wreak before then, but it really started to come up, and sacrifices were made that were not cherished. Lives were changed in ways that were unmendable. And this is important because it shows the validity of how a place can impact your life. So I did want to make a note of that. Now, these are all my ideas, my thoughts, my theories. If you disagree, or if you have something to add to that is constructive and kind, I encourage you to definitely, let me know, and I can do more videos, or maybe even you can do a video and comment, or just, communicate how you feel and how you interpreted this novel. That's the great thing about reading, is that the words on the paper are the same. The words in the book are the same, but when they filter through your own unique eyes and they hit your own unique, mind, they become a property of your own interpretation, from your perspective, from your collection of life choices and the way that you see life. The story can be something that's totally different to you, even though it's the same story. And this is the great gift of reading, is that you are able to take on ownership of something that was written from the mind of somebody else, and have it completely different than what they may have intended, or from what other people may read. This doesn't make yours less valid. It just means that there is a grand spectrum of ideas that can be placed on a concept, and that just shows the infinite potential of our minds, collectively and individually. So for me, this book has been something that has really compelled me in the way of remembering that everything is our choice. And when Cal was stricken with anger and depression because his brother got killed in the military, his mom committed suicide, and his dad had a stroke, or was stricken ill. I can't remember if it was a stroke or not. He was trying to be, oh, woe is me, oh, woe is me. But Lee was a great reminder. And then his father's last words, which is the last words of the novel, it really just struck through, well, one of the last words of the novel, it really struck through that it's your choice to engage in those thoughts that are negative towards your advancement. I have suffered with depression, anxiety, and a lot of host of other mental illnesses before in my life. And it wasn't until something clicked in me, and this was years ago. It wasn't until something clicked in me that was highlighted that I was choosing. Now, I'm not saying that depression and anxiety is a choice, but I was at a point where I was looking for it. It became an addiction. It became something that I even desired, because without that anxious feeling in my chest, I didn't feel complete. I didn't feel like I was living. I didn't feel like it was me. And so my addiction to the anxiety, to the depression, was what kept me into this propulsing cycle. It wasn't the cause, but the choice for me to continue it, even when I knew that I can turn off that depressing show, I could turn off the depressing music, I can put myself in environments that are less triggering for me, for my anxiety, for my panic. It wasn't until I started to actually make those choices and make those changes that were derived from those choices that I was able to heal myself. Sometimes I still do feel low. Sometimes I still do feel that itch of anxiety in my pain, or panic in my body. But I make a choice to redirect my focus and my attention. And that has been something that this novel in present time has confirmed, that I wasn't like, I don't know how to explain this part, because this is why this novel was so powerful to me. The way that it was discussed, and I say discussed because they were having a discussion in the novel about it being a choice, or everything being a choice, right? It was confirmation to me that I wasn't alone in my thinking, and that the healing that I chose to do was a choice. And I'm proud of that choice, but also the detriment that I allowed was also a choice. So if you are someone who is going through similar things, if you've read the novel and you know how Cal is feeling, you know that fight between good and evil that exists within us, but also in the grand scheme of society, that sometimes can lead to having displaced anger, or emotions that are on a rampage, whether it's depression, whether it's anxiety, whether it's anything really that you desire to live without, I encourage you to make that choice. And making that choice is not going to make those emotions go away like that, but it will put on this beacon that sends signals out to your environment of what it is that you desire and what you're willing to accept. And that beacon that is going to emit how you feel is going to draw you to your more desired reality. And it, like I said, it doesn't happen instantaneously, but there's a constant battle that some of us face in our minds. And when we choose to fight wickedness with habits that are glorious and excellent, then eventually we are able to see that glory and that excellence prevail in our life, even if it may take longer than what we have hoped. It's a slow rescue, a salvation that is solo and unique to only you, but it's worth it, and you're worthy to make that voyage to save yourself, because without you, this whole world would be different. And yes, you matter that much. So that's another big theme that is in this book, is not allowing ourselves to be overwhelmed with the evil in this world, but also the evil of thoughts that may surround us. Understand that you are not your thoughts, and by you giving them focus, you're giving them energy. So when you allow things to manifest in your mind and to take up space in the real estate of your soul, you are becoming a temple for those things, and you should strive to be a temple for what it is that you desire. There's characters in this book that desired the chaos, they desired the wickedness, and we can see that in Kathy and Joe and other people, other characters. But then there are characters like Lee and Sam that got up every day in the face of adversity, in the face of their own animalistic ways, and they chose to prevail in their prosperity. They chose to pick joy And it's just it's a great reminder to our humanity that even when it seems that the world is overran by wickedness, we still have a choice to pick something different, pick what is in alignment with what it is that we desire to see. And I think that's a really good reminder in present times. Sometimes when I'm reading, I get lost in these worlds, and then I come back to my present world and I realize, man, calamity, chaos is challenges, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that's going on in the world. But then those characters, they kind of take on their own advice within me. They cling close to me, and they remind me of little passages that, kind of just stick with me. And they become like my literary angels, or my literary angels. And they give me extra energy to remind myself that it's my choice, and I choose to be firm in who I am. And so yeah, I understand that our mind it's a tricky system, but it's beautiful. Nevertheless, it's complex, but its complexity is its beauty. And once we understand how to program, relearn, unlearn things, we can really become whoever it is that we desire to be. So yeah, I've kind of went off on a tangent, but that just means that somebody needed to hear that. And yeah, I always give time to sow into people, because when I was at my lowest, it was hard to find motivation for the things that I was going through. I had a support group of, my wife and my family. But in this big world, sometimes you just want to hear it from a stranger. As weird as that sounds. Why is that? The strangers sometimes give us more resolve than the people closest to us. But yeah, East of Eden, if you're a reader, I would suggest you to check it out. And let me know if you guys kind of like these book reviews. This one is a little biased because it's based on my favorite character, Lee. But it's deserving. He didn't get as much recognition as he deserves, and so I don't mind using my platform to promote his message, because it's a positive message, and it's one that this world needs. It's timeless in its simplicity, but it's necessary. So I'm a fan. Let me know if you want to hear more of my theories about the different stories that is in this book. Let me know who your favorite characters are if you've read it. And I'm currently reading another novel. I'm not gonna say which novel it is. I may just come on here and do another review after I finish, but stay tuned. Peace be with you. And yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to find a community to talk about the things that I hold near and dear to my heart, which is reading and writing and literature and just stories. All right, who doesn't love a good story? But anyway, I've talked for 30 minutes, so have an excellent day. Bye.